Hi, thanks for stopping by for a bedtime vlog. I'm Angel, and it's been a while since I did a bedtime vlog, and I'm fighting a little minor headache, so pardon me if I get scrunchy faced. Um, and this headache has me thinking about toxicity. It's been super smoky here in New Mexico where I am, and if you look at a map of the U.S. right now, it is super smoky in more than half of the U.S. due to fires, forest fires, and that's releasing. Obviously, smoke is toxic to animals, and has me just really thinking about all the ways that I can mitigate toxicity, including, um, drinking more water, using an air purifier, eating healthier, de stressing regularly, putting fewer toxins in my body, um, as well as those toxins that are seemingly beyond my control, like forest fires and smoke in the air, or toxins in the water supply or in the food supply. The food supply and the water supply, there are things I can do. And as I mentioned, an air filter, like there are things I can do to help mitigate the toxic air, but not necessarily eliminate it. And a acquaintance of mine recently was kind of criticizing me for trying to eat healthy and not drinking alcohol lately, um, and was talking about being too pure, is how he put it, and that that purity can be um, a hindrance just as much as toxicity can be. And I agree with some elements of that line of thinking, having been previously a heavy drinker at times in my life and smoker. I can attest that you build up a tolerance to things by, you know, by having small amounts or larger and larger amounts of something. You can actually build up a tolerance to various toxins, and in some ways, when you live a really pure life, you become more sensitive to toxins and feel the impact of them more than perhaps you would if you were flooding your body with toxins to a point. However, I've lived a large portion of my life since I was a child with autoimmune issues, and that's led me to become aware of how much my body can reach a threshold. And I think in nature, most things have, a certain tolerance for a certain amount of toxicity or whatever it is that you're, measuring. There's a tolerance level, and then there's a threshold. And once we reach that threshold and start spilling over it, then things can become critical quickly. Especially thinking right now about human health, but I think this kind of theory applies to a lot of things. But keeping in the realm of toxicity, it seems to be a delicate balance, right, between exposing ourselves to enough toxins so that we have a bit of a tolerance for them, and also sometimes, like when you look at how vaccines work, or just how the immune system works by being exposed to something and then developing antibodies for it, you can see that um, some exposure to toxins, viruses, bacterias, um, all of those being potentially very different things. Some exposure to those things can actually make us more resilient and more tolerant of other toxins and bacterias and viruses, just to name a few things. My headache is making it a little difficult to think. Speaking of toxic thresholds, I think once we reach a threshold, though, things can become more critical fairly rapidly in my experience. And this is why I'm passionate about trying to detoxify my own body and minimize the toxins I put into it, especially as our modern world, my external world, is becoming more and more toxin ridden, basically, with fire, forest fires is what I was trying to say, with a lot of smoke right now, and um, pandemic with fear and virus out there. And the fear really tends to stress people out, which then is contagious to people, and also causes us to not maintain a lot of our systems as well, including our own personal systems, but also these broader societal systems like our food supply, our soils. Fear isn't the only thing that's having a negative impact on that, of course, but I'm just throwing examples out there as I in this bedtime vlog kind of ponder those things. Um, I think there's an interesting dynamic between being exposed to just enough of something to gain some tolerance to it, and being exposed so much that we reach a certain threshold and then enter a new acute state that can be critical or life threatening, or just damaging to life. And I don't think that's a universal, like there's not the same amount of one thing doesn't reach that threshold for every living thing, or even every similar human. We're all dynamic, complex beings, and yet, like our biosphere, our Earth is its own kind of dynamic being, right? And just like my body can reach a threshold that may make me really ill, or one day cause an end to this life in this body, I think this earth can reach a threshold where that can cause an end to all life in on this biosphere, perhaps. And I don't know that we're, anywhere close to that. I think life is a lot more resilient than we give it credit for. And I also think, even with what we can see, that the likelihood of us killing the earth is relatively small, because probably we will kill ourselves off um, before there's danger of that. However, we don't really know, do we? I do think that there's a correlation in life from the small to the large and back again, in both directions. And just like my microbiome, as we're currently calling it, can reach a critical state of toxicity, and then cause disease in my body and eventually death if I don't reverse that. I do think that we are part of the what could be considered the microbiome of the planet Earth, and that if enough of us are reaching a toxic state that we become diseased and ill, then we could impact the health or even the longevity of this planet. And it does seem, from this perspective, like we might be reaching that threshold in some levels. So um, this is something I've thought about most of my life to various degrees. And the current state of a global pandemic, and also just massive fires, and climate change reaching that threshold level where irreversible changes are predicted. Um, it makes it a prevalent topic on my mind, as well as this headache, which I think is a result of many things, not the least of which are the forest fire, or is the smoke from the forest fires. Anyhow, I bring this up because uh, a couple of reasons. One, I just want to open up the conversation, and I'm curious if you have thoughts that you would like to share back on this topic, about purity, toxicity, tolerance, all of these things, the biosphere and our microbiome. The We call it the mega biosphere. I don't know if that's accurate. Um, and then also, I guess I want to kind of introduce and or review some ways of detoxifying, because at least my instinct is to try to counter the increases in toxicity with detoxing. And drinking water is probably the number one way that we can detox our bodies. Our bodies are set up to naturally take toxins out if we have enough water in there for the body to do its job. Now, the accumulation of heavy metals and probably some toxins, chemical toxins that our bodies don't necessarily know what to do with, as well as some of the other more, maybe there's toxins that maybe the body does know what to do with to an extent, but if we overwhelm our organ systems, our detoxifying systems like our skin, our kidneys, then we can again reach that threshold where there starts to be dysfunction in that detoxifying process. So I really think some simple methods for mitigating the increasing toxicity in ourselves, and hopefully by doing that, decreasing the toxicity in the biosphere, include drinking plenty of clean water, meditating. These are cheap, should be free, easy, very accessible things that we all can do. Meditating, there's lots of ways to meditate, but whatever way you find that works for you, spending 10 or 20 minutes a day getting in alignment with your own nature. Sometimes I practice not getting attached to my thoughts and just noticing them. Sometimes I practice just paying attention to my energy, my vibration, and trying to align myself with the best version of myself that I have the capacity to be. Sometimes I just try to sit and make the body and the mind be still for a segment of time. I think all of those can be valuable. I also do a lot of moving meditation where I really just try to be in flow, be in harmony with my environment, in my body. All of these, again, are cheap and easy, very accessible. And so I encourage you and me to do more of that. Just to toss out a few more in this, what has now become a lengthy bedtime vlog. I think charcoal, activated charcoal, which is just, I mean, you can get a little of that with burnt toast, although I don't really recommend bread these days in the general sense, because there's so much glyphosate in our grains, and bread tends to be overconsumed in my experience, at least in my culture. However, a burnt piece of bread can actually be quite healthy for you in the detoxing realm. I know that might sound counterintuitive to you, but I'm just tossing it out there. Another thing I use sometimes, and I'm getting ready to do another round of, is clay. Usually externally, like you can use that to draw out toxins if you have a bug bite or a boil or acne. Clay works wonderful for that. But also, every now and then, and I say this with a little asterisk, clay can be beneficial taken internally in small doses to help pull out those heavy metals. Another really helpful thing is chlorella, which comes from plants. That's the green substance from plants. You can get that in plants, and you can also get it as an extract, extracted from plants. And chlorella, activated charcoal, clay, clean water, meditation with a reduction of negative thinking and stress, and a increase in positive thinking and good feelings. All of those can do wonders for helping us detox our body. And I think in the long run can also help have a positive impact on this biosphere that we're all a part of. That is my 2 cents for a lengthy bedtime vlog. I'm going to shut this body down and get some good rest. Good sleep being another way that the body does remarkable things to detoxify and heal. So, the earth does winter, we do sleep. As always, I'm wishing you love and lightheartedness, clarity, peaceful conflict resolution, amazing adventures, and sweet dreams. You can find other ways of connecting with me in the description, and I welcome your comments and questions. Ciao for now.